It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
Do you love the Tabernacle Choir? This year, the choir's music is everywhere you are. Listen to your favorite choir songs and music and the spoken word anytime you want on Alexa by simply enabling the skill.
Alexa, play music in the spoken word.
Now playing music in the spoken word.
You can also download the Tabernacle Choir app, subscribe to the choir on YouTube, listen on Spotify, and have access to all their wonderful music. Happy listening.
Your home for the best sports radio for your afternoon drive is right here. This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This Mother's Day, give mom more than just a gift. Give her comfort she'll feel every single day. Enjoy special Mother's Day deals at Miki Couture. 50% off any regularly priced blanket with code ZONE50. Shop online at mikicouture.com or simply drop by one of their many stores. I personally like the Sugar House one.
Yeah.
But I'm a little biased.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of the zone phone, talk a little NBA playoffs. He covers the NBA for Bleacher Report. He's Eric Pincus with us here on Jake and Ben. Eric, thanks for a few minutes. How are you?
Hey, Eric.
I'm doing well. Hey, thanks for having me.
I was not expecting a particularly competitive series between the Spurs and the Timberwolves. I don't know why, and the Timberwolves looked fabulous in Game 1. They seem every year to have an okay regular season and are just stellar making back-to-back conference finals. What is it about Minnesota that allows them to win in the postseason?
Well, they're good. They're a really good basketball team. I actually had this game going 7, and I did pick Spurs, but it's not a confident pick. If I go 7, I'm basically saying this is a coin flip. Either team could win, and I don't know which one is favored. The Spurs don't have the experience. They have a really good team, but Minnesota, they have, and they're without Dante DiVincenzo and Ayo Dosunmu, a couple of their lead guards, but they have their main bigs, and they have a lot of bigs. And Rudy Gobert, Nasri, Julius Randle, and then I don't think McDaniels is technically a big, but he might as well be the way he plays defensively. They're just so good and so disciplined defensively, and that's really what the playoffs ends up being. Rudy Gobert is not a great offensive player. I think Utah fans are pretty well accustomed to what Rudy Gobert does well and what he doesn't do well, but he is a former defensive player of the year, and that's for a reason. And so he's making it hard for them around the basket. Julius Randle's tough. Anthony Edwards, we didn't even mention him, and he's probably their best player. So, this is a real basketball team. They've gone to the conference finals 2 years in a row. So denigrate them on your own risk.
Is what they did against Wembanyama replicable?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge for Wembanyama, who is a baby relative to NBA experience. This is his first time in the playoffs. He's very young. His body, hopefully will stay, healthy and fill out a little bit more. But he's never dealt with this level in the NBA of defenses that are geared up to stop specifically what he does on offense. Now, the block shots, what he did in the game was tremendous, but he had a difficult time on offense. And I don't think he'll have bad games every single time. I don't think he and Fox will miss all their threes. And I think this will be, yes, it's replicable. Is it replicable 4 times or at least 3 more times for them to win the series? That's really the question. But I do know that of the players in the league who at least can challenge Wembanyama to an extent, it's Gobert. And then it's not just Gobert, but the combination of bigs and scheme and style and his inexperience. This is, in my mind, the necessary learning steps for him to eventually dominate the league entirely. But you have to learn how to do that, and it doesn't usually happen for players in their first go-round.
I love that Minnesota is full of guys who play both sides of the floor. And yeah, Rudy's not a great offensive player like you mentioned, but he's a great defender. Ant will play on both sides of the floor. Julius Randle is an extremely flawed player. He has proven, I think, over the last 2 playoff runs that flawed guys can still be very important. With that said, is there a ceiling to this Timberwolves team, or do you think they could conceivably compete for a true championship, or are they going to cap out as a conference finals team at best?
Well, like Julius is flawed, but like there's no player who isn't flawed. I mean, everybody has flaws. His are a little more pronounced in certain ways, but they kind of need someone who's unabashedly going to get his bucket. And they have that with Ant, and they have that with Julius. And in the playoffs, you see guys aren't willing to shoot sometimes or afraid to shoot, and Julius is never afraid. He may not take a good shot. He might play bully ball and make a mistake, but he's going for it. And sometimes it's just the more aggressive team. And is that enough to get past the Spurs? As I said, I think it's a coin flip. Is it enough to get past, let's say, Detroit or whoever comes out of the East, the Knicks or whatever? Potentially, I think reasonably so. The challenge is the Thunder, and they just appear to be the best team in the league by a good length. That I don't know. And, the Lakers get first crack at them. I'm not expecting much from the Lakers. I picked the Thunder in 5, even though I'm in Los Angeles and cover the Lakers closely. I had to go with reality and not fan brain. But I don't know if the Timberwolves are good enough to beat the Thunder.
Why were the Rockets such a disaster? What's going on there?
Well, there's a couple of things. One, Kevin Durant is a really special player, and he was functionally out of the series outside of one game. So that wasn't great. The other is that, they never really addressed properly their injury to Fred VanVleet and lacked a lead guard. And you can get through the regular season without a lead guard in a way that you can't in the playoffs, because teams don't have the time, effort, or ability to really play the kind of defense that you can in the playoffs. Over the regular season, you're just getting from city to city. You're just trying to survive. And you just can't put that level of focus. But you can in the play. In fact, that's all that they do. You have the best minds in basketball trying to figure out how to stop you. And that's the issue right there. So, we'll see what comes for the Rockets. They have some issues. I think Amen Thompson was tremendous. I think you can't forget how young they are without KD and without Fred VanVleet, and by the way, Steven Adams, who's an incredible offensive rebounder, and similar to Rudy, not like necessarily a great offensive player, but these big guys who set huge screens are highly impactful. So someone like Steven Adams hurt them just not being there. So injuries, and then the Lakers peaked at a really odd time, and LeBron's pretty good. I think we should mention that. Before
we look at the Eastern Conference playoffs and specifically the teams that are still alive, there are a bunch of teams that are not in the playoffs anymore that are probably feeling like they're left scratching their head. Boston, Denver, maybe Orlando with how they got there, where it seemed like maybe they wouldn't get to the play-in tournament, and then they had such a good first 4 games of that series and then absolutely fell apart. Who's got maybe the toughest decisions to make this summer? And maybe not even just because they have the best team or best player or don't have the best player. Who do you think has the hardest summer ahead of them?
That's a good question. Probably the Bucks. Trying to figure out what happens with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I say that because, the Celtics, I had them as the best team in the East. I thought it was them and the Pistons and maybe New York. And then early in the series, Pistons were struggling. So I was looking at Boston as the team that was going to come out. Do they pivot? Do they look at Giannis and say, maybe we give up one of the Jalen's or one of the Jays and go in a different direction? Orlando, do they, obviously they've already fired their coach. Do they split up Paolo and Franz Wagner? The challenge there is that there's this big question of whether those two guys can fit together in a playoff setting, because neither of them shoots the three especially well, and they both sort of take up the same role in offensive space. So that's kind of the question that they didn't get answered. And the only answers that they got is that when Franz was healthy, they looked pretty dang good. And so, do they do they split that up? And, Denver, unfortunately, has had a lot of health issues. They didn't have Aaron Gordon. They didn't have Peyton Watson. And Cam Thomas had a good game towards the end there, but not necessarily replaced what Michael Porter Jr. did. So they have difficult decisions too. I think really the only decision the Nuggets are focused on is getting Jokic extended. And if they can get him to extend and know that their foundational player is going to be there for the next, however many years, I don't think that's a difficult decision for them. And so then it's just, how do you make the team better? I think the other teams, maybe Orlando, because if you're asking me between the three who has the toughest decisions, it's probably Orlando, because they just didn't get enough information out of this year.
Before the Jazz entered the rebuild, they obviously decided that they had gone as far as they could go with Donovan and Rudy, and given their contractual status and all those things. I guess my question is Donovan Mitchell good enough to get a team over the hump as their best player?
Well, I mean, factually, based on history, the answer is no. We'll find out in a few weeks if we're wrong and if history is wrong. And I'm old enough to remember when Shaq used to get swept every year. And then at some point he became, three-time champ and then four-time champ. And so things change, and it's not always, you can't be dogmatic. But that said, there's something that has felt missing from Donovan's run in Cleveland. And he only got Utah so far, but the Utah run was pretty special too. So I think he's a really fun player. I think he's a very talented player, and you need somebody who's willing to take on the offensive role that he's willing to take. Like we talked about with Randall and Ant, Donovan's not afraid to take bad shots or, good shots or bad shots. And sometimes the bad shots are what hurts the team. So I think Cleveland has some issues. I enjoy where Utah's headed. I'm very curious to see where the Jazz are headed. I'm intrigued by what they've been building. I think there's something going on there that is interesting. How good, I don't know, and we'll find out in the lottery how that shifts and how much of a bolster they get with some young talent. But I think Donovan is an elite player, but I don't know that he's like the top tier elite. He might be second tier elite.
If the Thunder are the favorite to win the title, who's number two?
Oof. Well, sheesh. It's a distant number two, but okay. So, if they don't get out of the West, in my mind, it's Minnesota that gets that done, or San Antonio. San Antonio, if they can get past Minnesota, it means that they've matured. It means that they've grown up, and I don't mean that as a slight. I mean, they're young, they're inexperienced at the NBA level. They're all tremendous players, and it's not a slight on them, but usually the path is you get kicked in the teeth, and then the next year is when you take another step. And if they jump ahead of the curve and get past Minnesota, which shows that they've solved a very difficult puzzle, they match up interestingly with the Thunder, probably better than anybody else. And so that's really the only hope if you don't want the Thunder to win. In my mind, it's San Antonio, but again, let's not continue to underestimate the Timberwolves. And the Knicks have been just on an extreme roll. They started out real shaky in the playoffs, but the last few games they've absolutely decimated teams. So let's not forget them as well. And the Pistons showed a lot of heart to come back 3-1. So I view Thunder number one, maybe Spurs as their best challenger, and if not, maybe one of those teams coming out of the East.
What'd you make of Boston blowing a 3-1 lead? And then what'd you make of Jaylen Brown going right to some platform to complain about the officials?
I'm not a fan of the whole complaining about the officials. It is what it is. Like, they lost when two things happened. They lost when Joel Embiid came back, because you forget that he was MVP 3 years ago or something like that. Incredible player. The challenge with Embiid is health, and if he's there and he's healthy, he's a pretty special guy. And then Tatum on the other end, not being there for Game 7, just they had a bad game at home, and then the next game, they didn't get it done on the road, and then Tatum's not available to close it out in Game 7. It's just a confluence of just bad luck and non-execution at the worst possible moment. So I feel for them. It is what it is. I don't like the complaining. We could say how everybody in this league tries to draw fouls, because that's a way to win, but it's not a new thing. I mean, James Harden, Kobe Bryant, you go down the list. there's a much longer list than that. We can go, prior eras before that. But if we just say the last 20 years or so, there are guys who excel at taking advantage of the rules. And if they're going to call it a certain way and it's to your advantage, then you should get that foul drawn because it's helping your team win. The Thunder are sort of thought of as the most egregious on that, but Shea is really good at drawing fouls. You know what he should do? He should draw fouls. And if the NBA doesn't like the way that the game is called, they need to change it in the offseason. Jalen's a great player. He's a tremendous person. He's done a lot of good in this world. And I'm sure he was speaking out of emotion more than anything else. Obviously, that was a tough loss.
What does a successful series look like for the Lakers against the Thunder?
They need to get a split in one of those first two games. You get us, and the game one is usually the one where maybe the Thunder had that sweep in the first round, so maybe their legs are a little, their conditioning is not as strong just because they haven't been able to play, and the Lakers got just about enough time for LeBron to be at his best. And if they can extend that series, then theoretically maybe Luka comes back. So get it. If they lose in 6, I'm impressed because I really was leaning more towards a sweep than I was Lakers in 5. But the challenge is if you look at the regular season games, the Thunder just absolutely destroyed them. But I've seen that before in the world in the playoffs where you throw out the regular season. Sometimes the playoffs are just different. I look at the two rosters and don't really buy it for the Lakers, but at the same time, LeBron is, as we mentioned, is a pretty special player, and if they can get that thing to a split, maybe get a 1 or 2, maybe a split at home, push the thing into the series into 6-7 games, maybe something crazy could happen.
Where do you think LeBron plays next year?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a tough one. So, the Lakers they're one of 3 teams that has considerable cap room, spending power. Chicago, Brooklyn, there's another few teams that might be able to get there, but they have to make difficult decisions like Atlanta with Kuminga or Detroit with Jalen Duren or, even the Clippers with this whole Kawhi Leonard situation where theoretically crazy things could happen if they get punished and his contract get voided. But let's just go with the basics. 3 teams have money. There's not a tremendous list of free agents, but there are some good ones. And then the Lakers, if they don't get a free agent, can look to get one of the players they covet via trade. So let's just say it's a world in which they do successfully get a player or via trade or free agency. They're not going to be able to afford in that path also to pay LeBron $50 million, which is what he's been getting. So now there's the other path where they don't find what they want. They don't get the free agent. They don't get the trade. And at that point, maybe they just need to wait a year. And if that's the case, pay LeBron another year, maybe not 50, maybe 30, maybe 25 or some lower number because you can't really get it anywhere else. But enough to make everybody happy and compromise. I don't know if that's the path, but it's a reasonable one. I don't think it's plan A for the Lakers, which is, crazy because LeBron is, historic, an all-time player, whether you love or hate him, he's got to be ranked at least in the top 5 players of all time, if not number 1. I'm not going to debate that now, but he's at least in that conversation, certainly on longevity. I don't know anyone, Kareem played this late in his career, but he was nowhere close to what LeBron is at this point. So we'll have to wait and see how it all pans out, but Cleveland is certainly a possibility to go home. I think the Warriors with Steph is reasonable. The Knicks, some people have mentioned. I could come up with some wild ones. I think I have on some article that hasn't published yet for Bleacher where we, throw out like maybe joins AD somewhere or Kyrie or something like that. But yeah, I think, it's really up to really LeBron. And the last possible thing is that he could retire. I wouldn't expect him to, given how well he's still playing, but, that's a personal decision I'll have to weigh on motivation. It's not a question of physically can he, because he showed that he can, but does he want to?
Eric, thank you so much for jumping on with us. We greatly appreciate it. Big fans of your work.
All right. Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Eric.
That's Eric Pincus, covers the NBA for Bleacher Report.
Covered a lot of ground there.
Oh, yeah. Eric's great.
I think LeBron's playing next year.
He is.
I have no idea where. I suspect the Lakers.
I don't think
That would be my guess. But, yeah, maybe there's an ugly. I mean, I expect them to get swept by the Thunder with or without Luka. And I don't expect Luka back, truthfully. But I think they're going to get swept, and that could leave a bad enough taste in his mouth, and the Lakers could be willing enough to turn the page on LeBron where they're not going to give him any money and just say, it's been great, go try and win a title somewhere else. And he goes and teams up with Steph or Steph and KD or goes to Cleveland and not AD, KD, or goes back to Cleveland. But he'll have whatever option he wants.
I don't think it'll be the Lakers unless he signs like a league minimum deal, but I honestly don't see it being with the Lakers. So, yeah, maybe it's somewhere else, but he's playing. I think LeBron will have his farewell tour.
Could absolutely see him in Manhattan. Could absolutely see him playing with the Knicks.
Oh, I thought you were saying Kansas State.
Transferring down. Trying to see if he has any eligibility after skipping Ohio State entirely.
Christian, Kansas State is located in Manhattan, Kansas.
Thank you. I put that together afterwards.
Making sure.
Kansas State's not relocating for the season.
In all honesty, with
the island of Manhattan,
with the rules in college, LeBron has eligibility left.
I don't know what the rule.
You could sign G League players.
Mm-hmm.
Sign LeBron.
Why not?
Probably make more money at Kansas State than he would in Cleveland or L.A.
Yeah, probably more than he would make with the Lakers next year.
Some college somewhere will pay LeBron $10 million to come play for their team.
BYU, do you know what they'd pay to get LeBron? For
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He should take it to court.
He has the power. If anyone has the power,
because you
he
can
and
play.
Adele would get him wherever he needs to be.
Absolutely, you can play pro basketball now and go back to college. We've seen players play pro in Europe and then go to college. Mm-hmm. We've seen G League players now go to college.
I've seen an NBA player, and they seem to have drawn the line specifically at the NBA,
but
which I don't know why.
That's my point.
Yeah,
who?
For who and why? Yeah, why would they draw the line at the NBA? What's the difference between the NBA and the G League?
There's
no
not one.
Difference.
There isn't.
Absolutely no difference. The players are way better in the NBA, sure, but like
conceptually, it's the same thing.
Any G League night, there's 5 NBA guys on the other team. How often did Bryce Sensabaugh and Taylor Hendricks and Cody Williams and more, even Isaiah or Marcus Smart has played in the G League. It's like Rudy played in the G League. Rudy's a Hall of Famer.
It used to be when amateurism was a thing that if you played pro at all,
you were
not qualified.
You got paid to play.
That rule is gone. So why couldn't an NBA player?
It's a silly line to me.
It's a way silly line. I totally agree.
Yeah.
LeBron should finish his career in Manhattan, Kansas. I know Hot Take Tuesday is coming up next.
In purple.
But that's my hot take.
No, I look good in purple, so I'm going to the only purple school.
Finish your career in Manhattan, Kansas.
Mm-hmm. Taking my talents to Manhattan.
Finish your career
Kansas.
In Moscow. Idaho. Although I wouldn't put it past. LeBron wants to do that 3-on-3 thing in Europe, right? Maybe he'll finish his career in Moscow. Russia.
I'm going to Portland. Portland, Maine. What colleges are in Portland, Maine?
I was going to say, is there even a college in Portland, Maine? The University of Maine, maybe?
Let's see. The C on my computer doesn't work anymore, so it's really hard to type. I should get that fixed.
Why do you need the C in Portland, Maine?
College. Southern Maine. Or Maine College of Art and Design. Or Southern Maine Community College. I bet they're a powerhouse with LeBron. The NCJAA championship goes to Southern Maine Community College.
I'm taking my talents to South Beach to play for the Hurricanes.
It's going to be great.
I think you should do it. Somebody should do it. Some geezer has been who gets washed out of the NBA should sue to go back to college.
Oh, they tried. Yeah. Was it somebody at Baylor? I can't remember who the player was. There was an NBA player this year who was trying to get back into college, and they drew the line. They said, no way.
Hot Take Tuesday coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Not only do these guys give you the best Jazz coverage in the market, they've got you covered with the Mammoth, the Cougars, the Utes, and the Aggies. This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. It's Tuesday, so let's do a little Hot Take Tuesday. I have a few lined up, Ben. You usually have a few prepared, ready to go. Christian even gets in on the action.
Christian, you dogged last week. You have any?
No, not yet. I don't want to lead off after my performance last week.
Okay.
Ben?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, go for it.
Do you want me to go sports or no? I don't have a non-sports one.
Whatever you want to do.
All right, I will go with a more fun one because I have a hot take elsewhere, but we'll get to it at a more timely moment.
Then Hot Take Tuesday, bust it out.
I think this is a hot idea more than a hot take. We need to have, once and for all, a lottery draft for all sports teams' names, especially in college. And there can only be one Wildcats. There can only be one Cougars. I don't want to have multiple Cougars or multiple Wildcats or Griffins or whatever, especially in the same conference, but really anywhere in all of college sports. And I don't care if there are 350 college teams. I don't care if we have to bring in the junior colleges as well, because the Salt Lake Community College Bruins, my pride and joy, have the same name as UCLA, and I hate that. So I don't know how we're going to decide how to do it. I don't know if it's a random lottery and we're just picking names out of a hat. I don't know if it's just like the NBA ping pong balls. But you compile a list of 500 names and just go down and you pick your name when your number comes up. But if it's already been used, it's out. I do not want to have the same mascot, the same team name playing each other. Because I was listening to something the other day, Big 12 stuff, and they were talking about the Cougars. And I thought, oh, interesting, they're talking about BYU. 12 minutes in, I realized they're talking about Houston. I'm sick of it. I think we can be more creative than this. If you want to use the Cougars, you have to put an adjective before it. The Screaming Cougars, the Growling Cougars, the Tired Cougars. I don't care what it is, but be creative. None of the same repetitive name. We play each other too much. There's too much overlap. Let's figure it out. And I think it needs to start, and nobody gets first dibs. Nobody owns it by being around longer. Mm-hmm. If the Portland, Maine Art Institute wins the number one pick and they want to be the Buckeyes, congratulations. Sorry, Ohio State. You're starting from scratch. That's my hot take. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the same, especially in conference, but really everywhere.
I think this is a bit of a pipe dream.
Oh, of course it's not going to happen, but it's a hot take.
And would be impossible to do, but yes.
I'm sick of it.
It is a hot take.
I really hate it. And that would be one, if I had to change something about college athletics, it would be an absolute requirement in the same conference. And if I had my druthers, it would go all 350 Division I men's basketball teams or football teams or whatever.
Okay.
That's my hot take. I'm tired of it.
Anything else?
I had 1,000 things, but I'll get that off my chest today.
Because I've got several, so feel free to do multiple.
No, I feel good about that.
All right. First hot take, Arthur Blank is my favorite owner in sports.
Okay, yeah.
The owner of not only the Atlanta Falcons, but Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. And Yahoo is reporting Falcons owner...
Wait, what?
Yahoo.
Yeah, that really threw me a loop.
Thank you.
You feeling okay?
Who
Not
are you
really.
talking about?
No, Yahoo.
What outlet is this?
Is reporting Falcons owner Arthur Blank tells WSB-TV Atlanta that Mercedes-Benz Stadium won't raise prices for the World Cup. He said he wants soccer fans from around the globe to experience the southern hospitality Atlanta has to offer while still being affordable. And Arthur Blank famously is the one who refuses to jack up prices on concessions inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium and actually came out making more money. But a lot of owners, in my opinion, Ben, have a lot of lip service toward appreciating and loving the fans and then do very little about it. And you know what? Arthur Blank may be the biggest sleazeball on the planet. I don't know. But at least he's done multiple things that actually make things more affordable for fans. And I really appreciate that.
I like that he looks like the cartoon Godfather in The Simpsons. And I don't mean Fat Tony. I mean the guy that's above Fat Tony, who you only rarely see. He looks exactly like that person. I love that about him. My complaint is I don't know if this is a hot enough take. Yeah, Arthur Blank rules. Other than his teams are awful, he rules.
He's been to a Super Bowl.
What was the score in that game?
Well, it was the biggest blown lead in Super Bowl history, but he didn't get blown out.
It's not his fault that they blew a 28-3 lead.
No, it was Shanahan's fault, and then he did it again.
It's remarkable that he got there, so good for him. You're right. They made a Super Bowl. But he's an awesome owner. And, yeah, the fact that everybody seemingly with the World Cup is the most corrupt person on the planet, apparently, and he's the one who's saying, oh, cash grab, cash grab, cash grab. If we're having the World Cup in one of my arenas, we're doing $4 sandwiches. We're doing $1 bottles of water. We're doing $3 sodas. Love that about him. So, yeah, my only complaint is I just don't know if that's a hot enough take. Arthur Blank's like the best guy.
That he's my favorite owner?
Yeah.
That I'm putting him at the top of the barrel. That's my hot take. James Dolan at the bottom.
Yeah, is there anyone else close at the top?
Arthur Blank at the top.
Best owners. Bob Kraft. Just lets anything go. Just pure debauchery.
I mean, murder even.
Yeah, right? It's a madhouse in there.
I think the Rooneys are considered really great owners in Pittsburgh. I like the fact that they don't fire their coaches.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Man, who else? I mean, the old man bus used to be considered really great. I don't know his kids or this new guy. Who else would you throw into that category?
That's the thing.
The best owners in sports.
Honestly, this is counter to what Ryan Smith does, and I'm of the believer that Ryan and Ashley Smith are good owners. I think they're positive owners where there are negative owners. Dolan, a great example of that. But a lot of the best owners are probably the ones you've never heard of. You know, Tom Dundon, is that his name? The guy who now owns the Trailblazers.
Blazers, yeah.
El Cheapo stinks. Mm-hmm. Stinks owns the Hurricanes. Apparently does an okay job there, but stinks as an owner in my opinion. But he's a little too forward-facing. Like, nobody knows anything about the Spurs owner.
Right.
That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows too much about the Bensons because you know their name, and they own the Pelicans and the Saints, and they're morons. With all due respect.
Well, this generation is.
This generation,
right.
Yeah.
Another one of those situations where it's handed down to the kids. And it's not so great. All right. I have other hot takes for you.
Christian, do you have any?
I have one, but Jake is much better.
No, keep going. Go ahead.
Well, in regards to the draft, right, the NBA draft and the lottery and the anti-tanking and all this stuff that came out, I had been saying my personal fix would be to just do straight up reverse order. I think that's the simplest way, and I think that still accomplishes what the draft sets out to do. And I don't know. I just get so caught up in, like, I don't need a rule book to know how the draft works, how the NBA lottery works. I shouldn't have to have it explained to me every single year. It just seems like it should be a lot simpler. I would just go straight up reverse draft order.
I think what's interesting about that, in all honesty, is that it would become so clear early who the worst team is in the NBA that teams aren't going to be able to tank to get there. And that is the problem with the lottery odds right now. There's so much incentive for everybody to tank because you could get the number one pick. If you just eliminated the opportunity for 29 other teams, or really 27 other teams, to be able to get there before the last week of this regular season, I think fewer teams would tank. If you're
not going to have 10 teams
the last
win
week of the
18
season
or
tanking.
19 games.
Because I do think teams recognize the difference between 7 and 6 doesn't matter all that much. But when it changes 4% of your lottery balls, 8% of your lottery balls, you think that does actually matter, when I don't think it does at all.
Whenever anybody gives out their proposal to fix the lottery, I didn't see that one floated around too much.
Just a pure reverse order.
Yeah, worst team gets the number one pick.
Can I piggyback off of yours? Let me know. This might be right in line with how you think, Jake. The lottery is the worst day on the NBA calendar.
Why is that?
Because it does set up all of this crap. It sets up all of this garbage. It is mostly pain, especially if you've ever followed the Jazz. Like, every Jazz fan would tell you that they've never moved up other than the year they had the Brooklyn pick. But I think the lottery stinks. I like the draft a lot. I think the lottery itself is absolutely horrendous. I think the program of it is horrible. The fact that it takes half an hour is horrible. The failed responses of the owners is never exciting to watch. And then the fan bases are always angry. And whatever the outcome, somebody is convinced it's fixed. If the Mavericks win it, it's because they traded Luka. If the Cavs win it, it's because LeBron left. If the Pelicans win it, it's because the NBA traded Anthony Davis. And maybe it's fixed. I don't believe it is. But regardless, there's a reason it's fixed for every team. If Golden State jumps up this year, it's because everyone says, wow, well, they've been a great team and they're in a big market and the NBA wants to continue to see them succeed and they want to give Steph another chance, so good for them. That's going to be the opportunity. If the Jazz win, people will say, because I heard it in our hallway, oh, well, This is the year A.J. DeBonsa or Cam Boozer would actually stay in Utah, so you finally got a superstar that would be okay being in Salt Lake City. It just perpetuates all these stupid narratives that I hate. So I think there's a real argument, even though I'm excited to do a live broadcast of it on Sunday from 1 to 2, and I mean that. I'm excited to do it. I do think the lottery might be the worst day in the NBA, on the NBA calendar entirely.
I never watch it.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
So I don't know if I have an opinion on it one way or another because I never watch it. And it is fixed. So,
but the opening day of free agency is fun. The draft is fun. If you wanted to say the second day of the NBA draft is the worst one, I would listen to that, especially now. But the opening day of the regular season is fun. The playoffs are fun. Normal days in the NBA aren't always great because they're tanking teams, but they tank because of the lottery. Mm-hmm. So I think the lottery might be the worst day on the NBA calendar unless your team wins.
All right. Listen to Ben on Sunday. There you go. There's your Hot Take Tuesday. We'll have more Jake and Ben coming up next. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
No crazy soundbite slips past these guys.
I came here for the same reason people go to the zoo.
This is another edition of the Audio Vault with Jake and Ben. On 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake, Scott, Ben Anderson. It's time for the Audio Vault, the best audio of the day. Today's Audio Vault comes out of the world of the NBA. Now, the first clip we're going to play here is Draymond Green. Now, Christian, he is responding to Austin Rivers' comments, right, that Austin Rivers made before. Set this up for us a little bit.
So Draymond Green was talking about Steve Kerr. On one of his podcast clips, he said, as much as he's done for me in basketball, a part of me thinks he's hindered me in my career and what I could have become.
Okay.
And Austin Rivers responded to that. I'm not sure exactly what Austin said. I haven't seen it.
But that's a crazy thing for Draymond to say about
which is crazy.
His fellow Hall of Fame head coach.
So that is the backstory to this.
Okay.
So Draymond said that about Steve Kerr. Austin Rivers criticized Draymond for saying that about his head coach.
All right. And here is Draymond responding to the response.
I don't like to get in these back and forths because, quite honestly, guys that you usually get into the back and forths with, they become back and forths because it's like one of them like severely tips something this way and the other is just like kind of so far down that it kind of pulls you back a little bit. And so, speaking of Austin Rivers, I saw he said he's bewildered and it's ridiculous of what I said. And I just find it interesting that a guy who was the 10th pick in my draft, I was 35, who's on his second act, still on act 1, he goes, Draymond, never been a scorer. Austin, you and I averaged the same amount of points in high school. And I say high school because that's when you were at your best. And then in college, he was still good. He was very featured at Duke because NBA careers, should he really talk about my NBA career? I'm still with my first team. He was gone from his first team in 2 years. The guy received the biggest bailout in U.S. history prior to President Trump bailing out the airlines when his dad gave him $42 million. And I tip my hat to Doc. I pray that I can give DJ $200 million or give Deuce $250 million. I pray that I can do that one day. I love how people just go take the 15 seconds that they want to take and make it a headline. But I really enjoyed watching Austin Rivers be bewildered.
Well, that was funny.
Maybe the weakest rhetorical device is going right to personal insults.
Yes. Nothing that Draymond said had anything to do with what Austin had said. He just, in the slightest.
Just went right to the insult.
Right to, you're not a good enough player. I'm better than you in high school. I'm better than you in college. I'm better than you in the pros.
Unfortunately, we see this rhetorical device often.
A ton.
These days.
Yeah.
Where it's, you don't respond to the argument. You just go right to the personal attacks. And athletes in particular, when they say, well, I had a better career than you, or you didn't play the game, or whatever, it's just a deflection that means nothing. Mm-hmm. Because how good you are on the basketball floor does not entitle you to an opinion, more or less.
Correct.
All right. Well, Austin Reeves has responded to the response to the response. And let's hear what Austin, I keep saying Austin Reeves. Austin Rivers.
They are.
Austin Rivers responds.
Come on, Draymond. This is ridiculous. Seriously. ridiculous. But you know what? I'm going to address it because you crossed the line and you were mad disrespectful for whatever reason. You've been around too long. We both were drafted in the same class. The fact that you don't have the wherewithal to do your due diligence and actually understand I was being highly complimentary of you on the Dan Patrick Show. But it's you, and I shouldn't be surprised. You always act irrationally, emotionally immature, and your anger always puts you in hot water. So here I am having to address a video of you belittling my career. First off, Draymond, we weren't the same players in high school. I don't care about our numbers being similar. I did it at the national level, the top level. Hence why I got the Naismith Award, and I got pretty much every award you could think of in high school. I was ranked number 1. You were ranked, I don't know. So cut it out. Next. College, you actually were solid. You actually a really good college basketball player, but it's hard to compare because I was only there for 6 months. Something you could never do. Talk about I was, one of the featured guys. No, I was the guy. I led my team in scoring. I was first team All-ACC, freshman player of the year, lottery pick. Stop. Next. The NBA, hey, man, you got it, Dre. I mean, listen, I played in the NBA for more than 10 years, more than a decade, but 11 years, but I'm not a Hall of Famer like you. So I'll give you that credit. All right, you got it. But let's peel back that onion and understand why. Easy, Tiger. Okay? You have the delusion, the non-wherewithal, the irony of you saying I'm part of the biggest bailout in NBA history. Draymond, you were the luckiest basketball player I think I've ever seen, especially in modern day history. Let's talk about that. You were drafted to a franchise with the Hall of Fame front office, Bob Myers, Hall of Fame coach, Steve Kerr, the greatest shooter of all time, and perhaps the top 5 player of all time, Steph Curry, Hall of Famer. One of the greatest shooters, top 5 shooter of all time, another Hall of Famer, Klay Thompson. The Swiss Army knife himself, the guy who could do a little bit of everything on the floor, Andre Iguodala, another Hall of Famer. I know, keep up, it's a lot of talent. Not to mention one of the most lethal scorers of all time and arguably a top 10 player of all time, Kevin Durant, the same guy you chased off because of this, your mouth, you talk too much. And that's not even counting the plethora of talent around those guys. The Sean Livingstons, the Barbosas, the Andrew Wiggins, the Jordan Pooles, who you also chased off. Cut it out. Draymond, you're the backpack jump shooter. You're the guy that everyone leaves open. No one guards you. There are hours and hours and hours of film of just you being left wide open. In fact, anybody can just YouTube or Google or watch any Draymond game ever, and he's open all game. There are clips of you getting a rebound and just driving in a straight line and just getting a wide open layup because everyone's fanning out to guard the actual talent on the team. Talk about Steve Kerr hindered your career. Bro, Steve Kerr made your career. How dare you? Coming at me? Are you kidding me? I wish I could give my son $200 million if I was a coach. Yo, the NBA doesn't give coaching jobs to guys who may or may not sucker punch one of the players and staff. You need to fall back, Dre. Let's just be frenemies.
I like that he called him a backpack because that is what got Jordan Poole punched and eventually traded by the Golden State Warriors. He called Draymond the most expensive backpack in NBA history, which is an all-time great insult, in my opinion. Now, other than just slightly there talking about why Draymond had success and why it's ridiculous that he blamed Steve Kerr for potentially hindering him, he also didn't address much of the story. It became personal there. I do think it's very clear that Draymond has so much insecurity about this specific opinion about his career. Draymond is so afraid that this is how people will remember him the rest of his career. Because he always lashes out about this. It's why he punched Jordan Poole. The fact that people bring this up to him drives him absolutely bananas.
Oh, that's why he clowned Rudy Gobert, because they're the same player. Obviously there are differences in their player, but being
what they do,
clowned for their offense and not valued for all the other things that they do. If I were giving Draymond advice, I'd say have confidence in your thing, dude. You made that Warriors team special. If I were responding to Austin Reeves, I would say, yeah, those are great players. There have been other teams with many great players on them, but the Warriors team was truly unique because of Draymond Green, because they could play the death lineup and the small ball. He was a revolutionary player in that way.
He was.
Where you did not have to have a 7-foot stiff on the floor at all times. You could be effective with a 6'9" guy who played like he was 7'2".
Yeah.
Just take that.
Absolutely.
Same with Rudy. Stop being so defensive over your have confidence in who you are. I don't understand why Draymond. I don't think Steve Kerr is that great of a coach either. I think he gets more credit than he is due. I think a potted plant could have coached that Golden State team. But To say that Steve Kerr somehow did you a disservice, I think is unfair criticism.
All right.
And if you're gonna go at Austin Rivers for his opinion, say that. Say I'm the ultimate 5-tool player who revolutionized lineups in the NBA, which he absolutely did.
If you want to rank them, you can, or if you just want to say the least or the most replaceable of those players that Austin Reeves mentioned. Steph
Rivers.
Did I say Reeves?
Sorry, that's
Rivers. My fault. That Rivers mentioned there. Steph, Clay, KD, Draymond. I'm not going to bring up the role players he brought up. Steve Kerr and Bob Myers. Of those, whatever 5 or 7 players you mentioned, who is the most replaceable?
Steve Kerr.
Okay. Any coach could have gotten the same success. Maybe not any. That's not what you said, but
not any. Well, Mark Jackson couldn't, so it's not any coach. But Steve Kerr.
Okay.
Bob Myers probably second.
Okay.
Kevin Durant probably third because they did win without him.
Yeah, you could have put any other very good player on that roster or anybody, and they would have won.
Now, the debate after that is either Klay Thompson or Draymond Green.
Yeah, there's no question that Steph is the engine.
Right. But does Steph have the room he does without Klay? Can they get away with playing the style that they played without Draymond?
I think it is Steph 1, Klay 2, Draymond 3. But Draymond was just an absurdly great defensive player.
I would listen to the argument Draymond 2. I don't know if I'd agree with it, but I'd listen to it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And there have been really good players like Klay that have not turned into Klay Thompson.
Yeah, but would Lowry be Klay if he were there instead?
Sure. And Klay was also an elite defensive player in his prime.
He was. Yeah, 100%. He was a two-way guy. But Klay doesn't get nearly as many open shots if he's not playing with
Correct.
Steph. Like, not even close.
Correct.
He's facing doubles for his entire career if he's not playing with Steph Curry.
Right. Draymond's not being guarded by anybody regardless of what team he's on. And becomes a real hindrance if you're not playing with 2 of the 5 greatest shooters of all time, including the greatest shooter who's ever lived.
He actually did beat the Jazz in the playoffs because he made shots.
Yeah, no, he's hit timely shots.
Do you remember
yes,
that
absolutely.
series?
Absolutely, of course.
He shot incredibly well that series because that was the Jazz game plan, was just to leave him open the whole time. I'd have to go back and look at what he shot from 3, but I bet it was in the 30s.
Yeah, probably.
He made a bunch of shots that series. And that wasn't the only reason the Jazz lost.
Well, Draymond Green's a career 32% three-point shooter. It's not Rudy Gobert.
Mm-mm.
It's not good, but it's not.
Other teams still don't guard him.
No, he is the weak link to not guard.
Rivers is right about that. All right, stay tuned.
But I do love how much it bugs Draymond.
We have Live at 5 coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I drive my bus in a busy city. That's why road safety is so important to me. I know that I must slow down and be extra careful when I make a wide turn. Buses need more room than cars. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're driving, remember to give buses plenty of time and space to finish turning before driving ahead. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.